Salvete, ladies. Welcome to your next video. This one is on lesson 15 on the Latin for Americans textbook, and it really deals with two new concepts. The first one is the present indicative conjugation of the verb to be, sum esse fui futurus, but we're going to use this opportunity to review the predicate nominative as well. I know I've introduced it to you before, but who doesn't love a little review? And then the second thing that we are doing is the accusative of place to which, so another use of the accusative other than direct object. But first things first, let's look at the present indicative of esse to be. The four principal parts of this verb are sum esse fui futurus, and it's just an irregular verb. You have to memorize the forms. Couple things about the verb to be. It doesn't have voice. So there's no active or passive, it just is the present indicative. It just is, which makes sense because that's what it means. Also, the verb to be is a linking verb. Linking verbs cannot take direct objects. So you're not going to have an accusative direct object in a sentence that has a linking verb. Instead, you're going to have the predicate nominative, and we're going to review that in just a second. But first things first, you need to memorize the forms of the present indicative for the verb to be. They are sum, est, sumus, estis, sunt. So sum meaning I am, es, you are, est, he, she, it is, sumus, we are, estis, you are in the plural, or if you're from DC and South, you can say y'all are, in sunt, they are. In addition, this verb does have a second principal part, therefore it does have a present infinitive that is esse, and it means to be. So you need to work on memorizing those forms, and I want us to review how to use these forms in a sentence. As I said, when you use a linking verb such as to be, you don't have a direct object, you have a predicate nominative. And what that means is that the noun or the adjective is going to be in the nominative because it is actually describing the subject. Okay? Think of a linking verb as a big old equal sign, right? What you have in what case you have on one side of the equal sign has to equal the other side. Basic algebra. Okay? So let's look at a couple examples. In this first example, Marcus bonus est. So Marcus is our subject. Bonus is describing Marcus, but it's not going to be before the verb. When we translate it, it's going to be in our predicate in English. So Marcus is good. And again, this is going to be the same gender number in case as Marcus because it is describing Marcus. Let's look at this second example. Marcus et amicus sunt boni. So in this case, we have how many subjects? We have two. We have Marcus and the friend, right? That is the reason why we have a plural verb here. So it's not the singular, third person singular like est, it's the third person plural, sunt. And we have the plural adjective. It's the same gender as Marcus and amicus. It is the same case as Marcus and amicus, meaning that it's nominative. It's just not the same number because it's describing both Marcus and his friend. So it translates as Marcus and the friend are good. Good. In these next two examples, I want to show you that you don't need a third person linking verb in order to have a predicate nominative. So in this first one, Julia discipula bona est. So Julia here, not nominative actually in this case, it's vocative, I'm addressing Julia. Julia est. You are, and we're not going to have a direct object because linking verbs don't take direct objects. The verb to be does not take a direct object. We have a predicate nominative. You are a good student. And then our last example in the plural, boni discipuli estis. Estis, y'all are, or you plural are, you are good students. Nominative plural, technically describing the you, the plural you, in estis. Okay, the last little thing that you need to learn for this lesson is the accusative of place to which. How do you form the accusative of place to which? Actually, you guys have already been doing it in some respects because accusative of place to which uses the preposition odd or, and this one's new, in plus the accusative. So you've used odd plus the accusative before. To Silwam, odd Silwam, to the forest. Ad aquam, to the water. Accusative of place to which is odd plus the accusative, but it's also in plus the accusative. When you use odd, it translates as to or toward. When you use in, it translates as into or onto. Okay, so a very quick example of a sentence like this would be aquam in casam porto. Porto, I carry. Aquam, our direct object, accusative direct object, water, in casam, into the house. One of the things you need to start paying attention to is whether the accusative in a sentence, like this ending in aquam, and this ending in casam, is the direct object or the accusative of place to which. You should be looking out for that preposition to help you along with that. Remember when we started learning odd plus the accusative, we talked then about not confusing odd plus the accusative with the indirect object, which also sometimes translates to. Remember, for accusative of place to which, the subject of the sentence must physically move from one place to another, okay? So you send a letter to a friend. That's an indirect object because you, the subject, isn't moving from one physical place to another. The letter is. But if you carry water to your friend's house, well, you, carrying the water, are physically moving from one place to another, so you use odd plus the accusative, or in plus the accusative. You use the accusative of place to which. Just to remind you, this is the third preposition of place that you have learned. You've learned ablative of place where, ablative of place from which, and accusative of place to which. And we're going to do a little exercise in class working with all three prepositions of place. All right, take good notes, and I will see you at the next class. Have a good night, ladies.